Hello. Today we bring you a very interesting panel discussion on our special episode for our first season where we will be discussing a wide range of issues. Please stay tuned. Welcome to a new season of Exploring Politics, where today we have a whopping 6 issues to discuss and to bring to you today. Today sitting with me are Matt Barra and Des Long. Would you two like to introduce yourselves?
Well, what's up? I'm Matthew Barra. I'm a political science major here at LaSalle, and I'm really looking forward to the new season. I think it's going to be a great show today.
All right, and my name is Deslin Long. I'm a history and political science double major here at LaSalle. And like Matt and Peter, I am also looking forward to this new season, and I think we're going to be in for a real treat for the rest of the semester.
I'm very glad to have you guys here. So we're going to start today talking about the SEPTA budget crisis, which was recently put on hold as Governor of Pennsylvania Josh Shapiro directed the use of the repairs and emergency budget to be used for operations. It was $394 million set aside for emergencies or repairs to trains that is now being used to ensure that it is not shut down as it was planned to be. The lines that were going to be shut down are going to still be in operation. However, this budget is not a long-term fix, and also now they don't have a repairs and emergencies budget because it is being used for operations. So there is a push now to find a new way to have a long-term fix for this SEPTA budget crisis. What do you guys think about all this?
Well, in order to understand where we're at, I think it's great. We all agree it's great that SEPTA is back, that people are able to use SEPTA. But we have to understand how we've gotten here. And how we've gotten here is this city is not good at spending money. Mayor Sherrell Parker, we all remember what happened over the summer. We didn't even have enough money to raise the pay of these government employees by what, 6 or 7%. We didn't even have enough money to do that. Is it a surprise to people that we don't have enough money now to pay SEPTA? Of course we don't. And no one even knows really where this money is coming from. Clearly, Governor Shapiro doesn't have enough money. The mayor obviously doesn't have enough money to fund this expenditure. And if we're not careful, this city is going to go bankrupt.
I would actually disagree on that topic. As much as I have my issues and own problems with Sherrell Parker, I actually do not think that this is her fault. I don't think this is the city of Philadelphia's fault as well. This is a SEPTA problem as well as a Harrisburg problem. This is from our state legislative in Harrisburg. They're the ones that are pulling their feet and not having the money passed, for us to have effective public transit. And there's also a SEPTA problem. SEPTA has been getting money and money and money year after year after year, billions of dollars. And where is the money going from the state government, mind you? Where is the money going? We're not seeing any improvements on any of the rails or any of the buses or anything such as that. So again, my problems aside with the city of Philadelphia, I don't think they are the ones to blame for this ongoing crisis.
I think this issue comes about from, as you said, Harrisburg wants to cut a lot of the budget, but unfortunately we do have to move on. We're rapid firing our issues today. So Des, could you take us to the government shutdown?
Yes, so if you'll remember back in March, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, along with a few other Senate Democrats, voted for a Republican-backed plan in order to avoid a government shutdown. And in doing so, they faced monumentous criticism from those on the left. And so now we're in a similar situation. Another shutdown is looming, but this time, Senator Schumer is refusing to cooperate and support the plan backed by Republicans. Now, the Republicans want to have a straight extension of funding up until November 21st, as well as providing an additional $30 million for the safety and security of lawmakers on the Capitol. But again, the Democrats are withholding their votes until the GOP reverses some of the more controversial measures and issues that they passed recently, most importantly, the Medicaid cuts that went into place with Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill being signed into law. And so Democrats have their own plan. They want alternative government funding through October, as well as an extension of health care subsidies and Medicaid, and want Medicaid cuts repealed. But right now, it's looking like where no agreement is going to be reached. And Senator Schumer has already said that they are not supporting it this time. They're not going to be saying Republicans this time.
I mean, budget, like the government shutdowns are never good. They, they create a lot of problems for people on benefits, on welfare, SNAP benefits, most notably for mothers that need money for their children will not be getting that money while the government is shut down. A lot of other vital services will not be operating as efficiently. The workers for the government will not all be paid. So a government shutdown is very bad. However, I think that at this time, if the Democrats are able to withstand and hold long enough to be able to get these, the bills repealed, I think that would be for the better of everyone. Even if people on welfare, they would be in trouble a little bit now, but with Medicare and Medicaid back, with a lot of these other changes reversed, I think it would be a net positive. However, that depends on how long the government is actually shut down, because if it is a long time, it could be devastating for many people. Matt, do you have any thoughts?
Well, look, I think we're in agreement that we don't want a government shutdown, and it really is no wonder why Congress has such a low approval rating. Nobody likes Congress. These people are not out for our interests, and I at least have to give this to the Democrats in Congress. What they understand is that you have to really fight. Democrats do something that Republicans tend not to, which is fight. They're the ones who are filibustering. They're the ones now, Chuck Schumer, threatening a government shutdown. Republicans do not do this, and Republicans have really not accomplished very much of Trump's agenda. I'm sure we feel a certain way on this panel about the big, beautiful bill, but the reality is Republicans in Congress have not done much of anything. We have not passed any major acts. We have not codified any of Trump's tariff plan into law. We have not made immigration reform, these things that Trump has ran on. But as far as whether or not the government shutdown will happen, we'll have to wait and see. The Democrats would need a lot of support, and John Fetterman may not support it, some others.
Yeah, so unfortunately we are, again, a little short on time, but now we are moving to your topic. Would you like to talk about what happened in Russia and Poland?
That's right. Well, some news with the war on Ukraine. So on the morning of September 9th and going into in the evening of September 9th and going into the morning of September 10th, Russia was allegedly, drones were spotted in Poland airspace, Polish airspace. Poland then quickly responded by shooting down those drones. There were between 19 and 23 drones that were spotted. Several of them were shot down by Poland. There was militaristic mobilization in Italy, in some of the Baltic states, I believe Lithuania. And there was a lot of questions that were raised about Article 5. Article 5 of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is, I'm told, a supposedly defensive alliance. Some questions about whether or not we would be going to war, as an attack on one country is an attack on all. Fortunately, that is not happening. We have no reason not to believe that this was a mistake by Russia. It would make no sense for them to go into Poland at this time. So we'll have to see what happens, and we can only pray for a quick end to the war.
Personally, I don't know if it exactly was a mistake. I would probably say it was a test. I think they were probably testing to see how the Polish air response. I think they were testing to see whether Article 5 would be. I mean, like, drones flying in your airspace is not a direct declaration of war. It's not so it doesn't necessarily trigger Article 5, but they wanted to see how quick the NATO nations would respond. And I think we saw from the NATO nations a very rapid response, with Italy mobilizing, with a bunch of other nations mobilizing along the Russian border. So I think Russia probably learned that they cannot just go into Poland without consequences. I would hate to see World War III, so I'm very glad we did not see that. But Des, do you have any thoughts?
I agree with you, Peter. I think it was a test. And I also think it's just Russia seeing just how much they can get away with. I mean, this war has been going on for years now, and they've been inching more and more into Ukrainian territory and fighting more and more. So I believe that Putin wants to see, all right, if we send drones into Poland, what's going to happen? If we go into the other Baltic states, what's going to happen? He wants to test and see what he would be allowed to get away with by the nations of the world. And like Peter said, I think that his little test was turned away once he saw how much these other nations, such as Italy, were mobilizing. So nothing but him having a little bit of a power craze.
All right, thank you. Now we move on to issues that I think we will have a little more to discuss with them, and I think most people should know about these pretty well. So first, we're going to be talking about Charlie Kirk being shot. So on I think it was the afternoon of Wednesday, September 10th, Charlie Kirk was shot at a rally in Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, and one shot was fired. He was dead within an hour or two. It was all caught on video because it was at a rally. It's very brutal that someone, a public figure, is shot on camera like that. Video is grotesque. And a lot of people have had a lot of thoughts because of the values that he represented as a person. And I guess I'll go to your thoughts on this first.
Well, I guess I'll start out here. I would just say it is very telling. The people who are calling Charlie Kirk now a fascist, their party, these radical leftists, it's very telling that for the past week, all over Twitter, all over Facebook, or X, I suppose, there has been this disgusting reaction. People who are trying to find ways to justify his death, some people who are being slimy and trying ways, and some people who are just outright celebrating his death. And I think it's very telling that this is the party who is calling him a fascist and his supporters, people like me, a fascist. And yet, what has the party of supposed fascism done in this past week? They have prayed. They have set up vigils across the country. People are creating Turning Point USA chapters by the thousands. And the reaction has really been incredible. This is not the reaction of the party of fascism. If anything, the reaction that we would see typically from these leftists is the reaction that we've seen over the past several years whenever something happens that they don't like, which is rioting. Are people on the right rioting? Of course not. They've been praying. And with that, at least, we can find solace. A lot of people feel emotional about what happened to Charlie Kirk. I certainly count myself among them. And you don't have to agree with everything that he said. That's not the point. But it's very telling, the reaction.
Now, Des, what do you think about all this?
I would just like to start off by saying that I disagree with absolutely everything that Charlie Kirk has said. But that said, a man has lost his life, and that should not have happened. He should not have had to die for his cause. Granted, though, he's been spending his entire career saying things about the Second Amendment, so saying that, we need some gun deaths in order to keep our Second Amendment rights. Yeah,
he
exactly.
Didn't say we need some gun deaths. He said it's a consequence.
Well, it's a consequence of having the Second Amendment right.
But what's the point of saying?
Matt, if I can please continue talking, I let you talk. So I would also like to bring up the fact that so many people on the right have condemned the left for the actions of some, but when there has been political violence that has been perpetrated by the right, they've been silent on it. Look at the Democratic lawmakers that were shot and killed in Minnesota just a few months ago. The president said nothing about their deaths. He did not lower the flags to half staff. He didn't say absolutely anything. I believe there was a U.S. senator. It might have been Mike Lee from Utah, but I know there was.
These were not. Charlie Kirk was not a public servant. He did not work for the U.S. government, but these people did, and they did not get the same treatment.
Exactly.
All right, let me get a response.
Well, please wait, Matt, just 1 second. And in fact, some Republicans in Congress even joked about their deaths and everything. And then what about Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania's mansion being lit on fire by someone on the right? His family being attacked, his family being threatened. So I think that, people keep saying, oh, the political violence is only on the left. No, political violence is on both sides, and it's only going to continue to get worse unless something is done in our country. I think we can agree that
our country is very polarized, and I think political violence is going to keep continuing to rise unless we are able to curb the animosity that just comes with the level of extremism and state violence that we have in our government right now.
The idea that this is
No, we only have 1 minute. So.
I know, and I have to respond here. The idea that this is a two-sided thing is ridiculous. The leftists, these radical leftists, they are the party of violence. No one is saying that what happened.
Although if you look at data, the right commits more acts of political violence.
Oh yeah, the right. Excuse me, hold on. The right commits more acts of violence. You're right. The right, they were the ones who, for the past 10 years, have rioted, have looted, have burned black-owned businesses, have killed have killed innocent people. Oh wait, no, that was the left. The right, they're the ones who went and burned Teslas and rioted and committed domestic acts of terrorism, all because what? They're upset with Elon Musk streamlining federal operations. Oh wait, that was also the left. And now you've got these leftists who are on, like Hassan Piker, this guy, this creep who should be deported back
We
to
do
Turkey.
not have time to get into this, man. I'm sorry.
I just want to bring up also, what about the January 6th?
hold on.
Okay,
Law
okay,
enforcement
January
lost their lives.
6th.
Law
January
enforcement lost their
6th.
lives,
Let's-
man.
What about January
Let's
6th?
move on. So, Des, would you like to introduce your issue that you have today?
Yes, so on September 9th, Israeli fighter jets from the Red Sea launched ballistic missiles into the capital of Qatar. I believe it's pronounced Doma, right? Or the capital of Qatar. My apologies for the mispronunciation, but I believe it's pronounced Doma, and killed 6 people. Now, they claim that the attacks were an attempt to get the leaders of Hamas that were hiding out in Qatar, but again, they killed 6 people, and now as a result, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have just recently signed a peace treaty where that any attack on either of those countries, especially by Israel or any other nation, will be an attack on both of them, essentially making a war pact. If one of us goes to war, we're all going as well. So I wanted to get the thoughts of you both on this topic. I mean,
Yeah.
we had Russia and Poland, now we have Israel, Qatar. World War III seems very imminent.
It's very scary to see, but I do not blame Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. I mean, I think it's wrong for a country to launch missiles into another country to attack alleged Hamas leaders that are living there without going through any kind of process with that nation. Normally, we have extradition processes in international law. If you believe that a nation is harboring a terrorist, you talk with the other government of that nation and you try to get them to extradite them. However, instead, Israel has went ahead and they've just bombed the capital of another nation, which in most of history, that is just a straight up declaration of war, and I would not blame Qatar for going to war with Israel. Obviously, they're not going to. But I think that, I do not blame Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. I think that Israel is going, they need to be brought in a little. They're going, a little is an understatement. They are attacking, I think, how many nations is that now? 6 nations? Other than Palestine, that are their neighbors, just launching missiles into their country or sending bombs, like the pagers in Lebanon, and it's unacceptable in international law. You cannot do this. Morally, you cannot do this. I just think it's wrong.
Yeah, and there won't be changes because, I think that we can actually reach some agreement here on this panel for once. We should not be sending billions of dollars to Israel. It does not help America. And, Peter, like you said, they're dragging us into conflicts. And, you've always said that this is between Israel, Palestine, and a lot of these neighboring Arab states. This is a conflict that goes back 150 years. This is something that started a while ago. And it's not our responsibility as the United States to fund this. It's not our responsibility to be involved. It's not our responsibility to be brought into a war. That is not America first. That's not what we elected Donald Trump to be president for. We elected Donald Trump to be president so that he'll look out for American interests. Sending billions of dollars to Israel, and I'm sure you agree with that, but we also shouldn't be sending that money to Ukraine. We shouldn't be sending billions of dollars to any country. That's not in our interest to do that. That money could go anywhere else. And I think that we can have a foreign policy, but we have a lot of problems of our own. We have a lot of people in this country that need to be deported. We have a lot of people in this country that are committing crimes. It does not help us if we're sending billions of dollars to Israel so that they can drag us into some conflict. This is their fight, and it needs to stay their fight.
Yeah, we'll get into deportation in a minute when we get to your issue, but yeah, that's what we do.
If I could, Matt, I actually agree with you on part of what you said.
Not all of it?
Hear me out. We do have a lot of problems in our country that I would love to see that money brought to instead of being used to fund wars in other nations. I mean, some of these problems, we have our healthcare system, getting homes for our homeless people. I mean, ensuring that every student has the right to free lunch and everything, making sure that every American is taken care of. I would rather that money in my tax dollars be used to fund those things instead of having to fund a war halfway across the world that we should have absolutely no part of because it is not a part of us. I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu has been doing so many things to try to coax us into joining him, such as when he had the attacks on Iran a few months ago, and to say now, this is the declaration of war, everybody's being dragged into it, everyone will feel our wrath. This is not about us. This is about Israel and all the things that they've been doing to Palestine and their other neighboring countries as well, and their antagonistic nature. And so I think, again, man, I think we can agree on all that. I think we just had different opinions on how that money should be used.
I think that is a good way to put it. Now, Matt, it is time to go on to your issue, the last of our discussion today. Would you like to introduce that for us?
That's right, immigration, everybody's favorite issue to talk about. So just recently, of course, fitting in with the broader Trump deportation policy prescription, we've got a lot of people who were just deported who were working at a manufacturing plant. There was I think the largest ICE raid yet took place. That's right, the South Korean workers. It was the largest ICE raid to date. Now, we are getting some mixed signals, in my opinion, from the Trump administration. We're also seeing that there have been increasing calls now to actually expand visas, even though a lot of these media outlets are reporting that he wants to halt the visa process. It's not exactly what Trump has been saying. He's been saying that he also wants people to come in and teach our workers how to work, how to manufacture. He has been saying, he's been talking about amnesty over the summer. And these are things that I don't say. I disagree with these things. But I guess I want to hear the panel's input on what the overall immigration policy has looked like and whether or not you agree or disagree. I know, Peter, you're a big fan of Alligator Alcatraz, so I want to hear what you have to say.
I wouldn't say that. I think that that Trump's policy on immigration has been largely incoherent and aggressive, without really having any direct end goal besides. What has he said? Fighting illegal immigrant criminals.
Deportation of people who shouldn't be here.
The amount of these illegal immigrants that actually are gang members is quite low. In fact, a lot of farmers are currently struggling because the people that work for them are immigrants who come from Mexico or other Latin American countries, and they work during the harvest season, and then they go back and bring the money back to their home in Mexico. And these workers in the plant in, was it North Carolina, South Korean workers, they were there to actually teach American workers how to work in a auto plant. Was it Hyundai was the auto brand? Not important. What's important is Trump has talked a lot about wanting to bring jobs to America, wanting to make America an industrial powerhouse. But then when you get foreign and skilled workers who are coming and they're teaching your workers how to do their job that you want them to do, and then you have them violently arrested and deported, I think that is incoherent and stupid. I think that a lot of the ICE raids are terrifying because ICE will not identify themselves. There is no due process with these hearings. There aren't even hearings with these deportations. So these people are just being deported without being given the right that they have to a court to determine, are you a citizen? Are you here legally? Now, before we go back to you, Matt, I
agree, Peter. And I mean, my biggest thing, I'm a history major. I've been studying history my entire life. I have a poster of the Constitution above my bedroom wall. And it is unconstitutional what is happening to these people. The way that the Constitution is written, no matter who you are, as long as you are on American soil, you are granted the right of due process. Why do you think we have Guantanamo Bay in Cuba instead of being here in the United States? Because as soon as those convicted terrorists or accused terrorists or whatever were to step foot on American soil, they would have to be getting due process and given a trial by a jury of their peers. That is just simply how the Constitution and the government works. And so going back to Trump's immigration plan, these people are being stripped of their constitutional rights. And it's also just the fact that he went from saying we're going to get the criminals out of here to now we're going to get everyone out of here. And it's funny because the Federal Reserve government, I just watched Jerome Powell give a speech last night where he talked about interest rate cuts and he talked about the state of our economy. And so first of all, interest rates were cut by, I believe, about 0.5%. But he said that the economy is starting to go down, and part of the reason was because of immigration. He said we do not have immigrants working like they used to during the previous. Exactly.
Our workforce of who? Of Americans or of people who should not be here? I mean,
people who support our economy.
I mean,
the idea, first of all, the idea that it's unconstitutional to deport people who should not be here, who came into this country illegally, who are overstaying their visas, that's just ridiculous. First of all,
okay,
they're
but
not
that's not
supposed
it.
to.
They have to be given a trial.
First of all, they're not supposed to be here. They're not American citizens.
But they are on American soil. But they are on American soil.
And then I got to respond. I got to also respond to some points made over here. Peter is talking all about how, Americans are suffering, farmers are struggling, they're not going to have these immigrants that are going to work their jobs. That is just preposterous. The reason that Americans are struggling is because there are too many immigrants here that are working our jobs. We have to compete.
You gonna go work in the farm?
Yeah, man.
Actually, mostly Americans do work in the farm. The problem is
I believe
when
that's
you've
not-
got a lot
that's
of
not
when you've
true.
got a lot of immigrants, there's a high
Okay.
supply. We can't afford that. They outcompete American
Unfortunately,
workers.
we are
I
out
feel
of
like
time.
that's not factually accurate at
I
all.
agree. I
George
agree.
Borjas.
But
At all
we are out of
whatsoever.
time for that. We are going to go to our final thoughts. We'll have about 30 seconds. Please try to stick to 30 seconds to give our final thoughts. Des, would you like to go first? We'll
I
just go
will.
this way.
I think in all, everything that's been going on is just in terms of the fallacies of government. Government is not working the way it's supposed to be, whether it be your city government, your state government, or your national government. Everything is just out of whack. Everything is getting so much worse when it can be getting so much better. We are at the precipice of greatness, the precipice of living up to what our country was supposed to be. But it seems that everything is just going down the toilet now, and it really makes you wonder what the next few months and the next few years even will look like.
Thank you for that.
Charlie Kirk would have wanted us to settle our differences with civil debate, with civil discussion, and ultimately his openness to debating the radical left is exactly why he got shot. He was shot because he believed in Christian conservative principles. He was shot because of his willingness to engage in public debate. But we've got to carry on. We've got to carry on his footprint, and we've got to do it for Charlie Kirk. We've got to keep debating with these people, and the fallacies in their argument will speak to themselves.
All right, thank you both. So for my final thoughts, I would like to say I think that political violence is obviously a problem. Violence in general, state violence, is a problem that we are facing in America today. And I think that it will only increase as our nation is thrown into chaos by the Trump administration throwing all of our institutions into disorder. There is incoherent policy direction at every level. Our political scene is in chaos because we do not know what we are even talking about when there is no truth. There is no truth and there are no lies, and it's very hard to have, but we need to have these discussions. Thank you all for coming and watching us today, and I will see you next time.